This video isn't another celebration of the classics, it's an autopsy. So let's start where it all went wrong. Marcus Aurelius was known as the philosopher king and the last of the 5 good emperors. But behind the marble busts and best-selling journals lies a legacy that ended in ruin. He raised a tyrant. His son Commodus didn't just fail Rome, he nearly destroyed it. From the beginning, Commodus showed signs. He craved luxury, he fought in gladiator arenas for spectacle, he ruled through paranoia, violence, and narcissism. Rome, once built on order, was reduced to chaos, assassinations, betrayals, riots, and through it all, Marcus stayed silent. It began with a choice Marcus of all people should have questioned. Unlike his predecessors who appointed their successors based on merit, Marcus broke the chain. He handed the empire to his blood. At just 15, Commodus became co-emperor, and when Marcus died, the empire was his alone. You see, Marcus believed in fate. He believed, as he wrote in Meditations, that what happens to you is written into the order of the universe, that even your children are borrowed from fate. So when the universe gave him a corrupted heir, he accepted it. He could have stopped it, maybe chosen a regent, blocked the ascension, warned the Senate. He did none of those things. He submitted, not out of ignorance, but out of doctrine. That's what makes it haunting. When Rome needed decisive action, Marcus gave it resignation. His legacy was not just a philosopher king, but the man who knowingly handed the world to a monster because he believed it was fated. Ask yourself this: what happens when Stoic detachment is taken too far? When amor fati becomes an excuse to do nothing? This isn't ancient history. It's happening right now, in therapy offices, classrooms, in content loops. Modern Stoicism, in an attempt to teach strength, teaches surrender. And if you don't see the danger in this shift, you may already be caught in it. Every day, millions are fed this same doctrine, framed as ancient wisdom, served through sleek edits and a calm voice that tells you you're not upset because of what happened, you're upset because of how you think about it. It sounds reasonable, even healing, until you notice what's missing: emotion, resistance, urgency. Stoicism is compliance in training. Some of you are okay with that. If that's you, then you can click off the video right now. If you're not, then stay as we uncover how deep this rabbit hole goes. Ryan Holiday's empire made Stoicism mainstream and profitable. Tim Ferriss turned it into a productivity hack. Even athletes and CEOs now speak of amor fati between high-performance routines. But look closely. Ferriss has openly spoken of crippling depression. Countless men online drawn to Stoicism to find control now spiral into emotional dissociation, unable to feel anything at all. And the channels that trained them, they keep repeating, just let go. This was the same message fed to Japanese soldiers in World War II. Here, the warring Kamikaze pilots of Imperial Japan weren't simply told to die, they were conditioned to want to, taught to meditate on their death, write poems to their mothers, perform rituals before stepping into the sky with no return path. Their purpose wasn't military, it was metaphysical. Stoic-sounding mantras echoed through training halls. Accept your fate, let go of fear, be at peace with death. But peace was never the goal. Control was. Anesthetic ethics disguised as honor. And the results? Thousands died. The empire fell, and not a single kamikaze pilot changed the course of history, because intention without truth is still delusion. Modern influencers romanticize Stoic silence, masculine acceptance, letting go of the outcome. But when applied to abusive relationships, toxic workplaces, or systemic injustice, these same principles become tools of submission. How many people right now are staying in pain because some YouTube channel told them suffering made them stronger? This is an insanely destructive principle to teach, especially considering most people suffer without purpose. How many are rationalizing their silence, their paralysis, their obedience as stoicism? The flaw in reflect on mortality is assuming death is wisdom, but a lot of the time it's just weaponized despair. These ideas were trained into you by someone who needed you compliant. Modern Stoic philosophy started gaining popularity in 2012 with the Modern Stoicism project. co-founded by a team of scholars, psychotherapists, and philosophers. A man named Donald Robertson was often considered the de facto leader or driving force behind it. A man who didn't just teach Stoicism, but needed it. His public journey, from mental health counselor to modern Stoic evangelist, wasn't born from detached study. It looks a lot like it was born from pain, from fear, from a deep need to stabilize the chaos within himself. But here's where it gets dangerous. When someone builds a life-saving belief system, they also build a reason to never question it. The project, which involved a group of people coming together to live as Stoic philosophers for a week, gained massive global popularity. Soon after, Stoicism stopped being a tool and became a theology, one that millions started swallowing whole, not out of reason, but hunger. But how can a philosophy born from need ever claim to be objective? In this way, Stoicism reflects Old Norse ideas of clinging to myth to justify death. The Greeks turned suffering into destiny. These systems weren't about truth, they were about control, about finding shape in the shapeless. Stoicism, an ideology people adopt, not because it's real, but because they can't cope without it. When a philosophy is born from fear, its teachings are no longer neutral. We don't need new myths, we need clear sight, objective frameworks, brutal honesty. So the next time you hear someone say, focus only on what you can control, ask, are they thinking clearly or hiding from adversity? Because if the foundation of a belief is emotional survival, then every truth built upon it is already compromised. Epictetus, himself a former slave and one of Stoicism's core voices, taught that even in chains, a man can be free if he controls his mind. While powerful in principle, this Stoic ideal was later used to justify the toleration of injustice, that suffering doesn't matter if the soul is intact. Some slaveholders and colonial thinkers used Stoic texts to pacify or philosophically neuter revolts against slavery. Another sad example of Stoicism gone bad is the tragic suicide of French philosopher Simone Weil, who believed suffering was sacred. That detachment was divine. So when what too raged and food was scarce, she ate less than the starving, out of principle, out of alignment with nature. She starved herself to death, believing fate demanded it. But her silence didn't inspire a revolution. It ended her voice forever. This wasn't virtue. It was suicide dressed as Stoicism. She suffered without purpose, all while convincing herself that it was the right thing to do. Then there's Admiral Richard Byrd, who spent 5 months alone in Antarctica, journaling, enduring, practicing meditative solitude in the name of self-mastery. But nature doesn't care about your philosophy. He hallucinated, he deteriorated, and the deeper he embraced his own mind, the more it broke him. When your only companion is your inner voice, what happens when that voice turns hostile? Both Weil and Byrd showed what happens when Stoicism becomes pathology. They weren't weak. They were too strong for too long, and that strength cracked. Modern Stoicism doesn't warn you about this. It dares you to endure. But maybe enduring isn't always the answer, because sometimes Stoic silence is just a prettier name for slow collapse. Here are 10 core Stoic tenets, each paired with its major flaw where Stoicism might be misapplied, misunderstood, or even harmful if taken to extremes or without nuance. Resigned fatalism wears a Stoic face. It preaches stillness, not as mastery, but as surrender. It tells you to let go, not of ego, but of effort. You're not being brave, you're being quietly erased. Modern Stoicism has blurred the line, where resilience becomes resignation and mindfulness mutates into numbness. When every hardship is framed as fate and every emotion treated like a glitch, what's left of being human? Maybe that's the trap, a philosophy that doesn't scream when something's wrong, because silence looks like strength. With all that said, remember this: Stoicism isn't the enemy, misinterpretation is. There's power in accepting hardship, but when that power slips into passivity, when clarity becomes coldness, you don't become free. You become numb. This video wasn't an attack, it was a warning, a request. Think better, think braver. Never confuse acceptance with surrender. If you don't know what you're practicing, you might wake up one day with no self left to protect. If you've made it this far in the video, it's safe to say you don't plan to go quietly. So help me get this out to more people. Like, comment, subscribe, because the next video might just be the most important thing you hear.